Thank you very much. Let me start by saying tonight that I commend Senator Dole for selecting the second best quarterback in the Republican Party to be his running mate. Jack, we're delighted to have you on the team, buddy. When it comes to the American dream, no one has a corner on the market. All of us have an opportunity to share in that great dream. But then, this is America, where dreams come true. One of the Republicans' major products is dream making. People are dying to get into this country. They're not dying to get out of it. It is still America is still the greatest, most prosperous, the most wonderful nation on the face of the earth. And it produces hundreds of thousands of dreams come true every day. Tom Lewis had a dream. As a police officer walking the streets of D.C.'s toughest neighborhoods, time after time, kids would come up to him, fatherless children, and ask, "Will you be my daddy?" So when Tom retired from the D.C. police force, he took his life savings, bought a house, and turned it into a center where kids could go for tutoring and nurturing and a warm meal. Tom called the house the fishing school. Tom understands that what we build and nourish and encourage the youth of America to be today is what our country will be 20 years from now. Tom is joined by countless unsung heroes around America. This past year, I had the opportunity to travel the country and meet the people who are changing lives one heart at a time. In my home state of Oklahoma, there's the Resurrection House in Chickasha, Oklahoma, that takes care of the homeless in a rural community. There's an organization called TEAM, the Education and Employment Ministry, where Doc Benson restores people with a job and a future. I celebrated with Freddie Garcia in San Antonio, Texas, who not only met the challenge of his own drug addiction, but has a ministry serving others with success rates that the social scientists can only dream about. These people are working in the trenches and suffering with those who suffer. They understand compassion. They understand compassion can't be dispensed from a safe distance by a faceless bureaucrat sitting in an air-conditioned office in Washington, D.C. And while we're on the subject of compassion, it was just about 4 years ago that I was privileged to address the GOP convention. It was at that time that I talked about how the Republican definition of compassion was different than the Democrats. You see, Republicans don't define compassion by how many people are on AFDC and public housing and on food stamps. You see, we define compassion by how few people are on food stamps and AFDC and public housing. Because we've given them the means to climb the ladder of success. At that time, welfare reform was a distant hope. But I'm pleased to tell you that just 2 weeks ago, the historic Republican Congress passed over the objections of Bill Clinton welfare reform that will restore compassion and dignity to those less fortunate. Compassion can't be measured in dollars and cents. It does come with a price tag, however. But that price tag isn't the amount of money spent. The price tag is love. Being able to see people as they can be and not as they are. The measure of a man is not how great his faith is, but how great his love is. We must not let government programs disconnect our souls from each other. Bob Dole understands that. Bob Dole knows that it's people like Tom Lewis, the folks at the Resurrection House, Freddie Garcia and Doc Benson, It's these people, not the government, that can provide folks with tools they need to become productive citizens with dignity. Bob Dole understands Washington can't teach people right from wrong. Washington can't dry their tears or help a child with his homework. Bob Dole understands it's people helping people, neighbor helping neighbor, kids helping kids. And friends, let me share with you this evening, there's one title that I cherish a whole lot more than I cherish the title Congressman, and that's the title Dad. In fact, I have a special message for the kids in your house tonight. Young people, America needs you. If our country is going to continue to be great, if it's going to continue to be strong, you're going to have to do your part. You're going to have to fight for America. Fight for the values that have made America great. Fight against skipping school and cheating on your exams. Fight against driving too fast and disobeying your parents. And young people, you should thank God on a daily basis if you have parents that exercise tough love with you. Fight against cursing and smoking. And fight. And fight with every ounce of your being against drugs and against alcohol. And I know you've heard all this before and probably think that J.C. Watts is just another old-fashioned grown-up. And if you're thinking that, you're right. Just ask my own 5 kids, Keisha, Jarrell, Jennifer, Trey, and Julie. I know it's tough, young people. That's why I'm asking you to fight and stand and be counted as a leader in America today. You can help. You can help your friends find the courage to say no to the things that makes them weak and yes to the things that makes them strong. You see, friends, young people, high school students, college students, character does matter. And you know, I've got a pretty simple definition of character. It's simply doing what's right when nobody's looking. For too long, we have gotten by in a society that says the only thing right is to get by and the only thing wrong is to get caught. And I want to make a promise to you tonight. We will do our best to leave this country in better shape financially, environmentally, and most of all, spiritually. Parents and adults, I don't just challenge the youth tonight. I challenge you. For what we build and nourish and encourage the youth of America to be today is what this country will look like 20 years from now. The American dream is about becoming the best that you can be. It's not about your bank account, the kind of car you drive, or the brand of clothes that you wear. It's about using your gifts and your abilities to be all that God meant for you to be. Whether your dream is to be a doctor, a teacher, an engineer, or yes, even a congressman. If you can dream it, you can do it. The American dream is the promise that if you study hard, if you work hard, if you make responsible choices in your life and dedicate yourself, you can be whatever you want to be. Make America proud by keeping the American dream alive. You can do it, young people. You are America's greatest resource. And one more thing. In the wildest dreams of Buddy and Helen Watts, did they ever think that the 5th child born to them of 6 children in a poor rural community of Eufaula, Oklahoma, in a poor black neighborhood on the east side of the tracks, Never in their wildest dreams did they ever think that their son, Junior, would someday grow up to be called Congress. But after all, never did they think it would happen. Never did they think that their baby boy, J.C. Jr., would grow up to be called Congressman. But friends, after all, this is America. God bless you.
As Republicans, we're all proud and grateful to members of the House and Senate who have waged so valiantly the battle to balance the federal budget. We have with us this evening the master craftsman of the balanced budget bill approved by Congress and vetoed by Bill Clinton. Fellow delegates, please show your appreciation for the dedication to purpose of our next speaker, Chairman of the House Budget Committee, the Honorable John Kasich of Ohio.
Let me just say how proud I am to be a member of the Republican Congress, a Congress dedicated to deeds, not words. Instead of playing that old Washington game of saying one thing when you run for office and doing another after you're elected, or telling people what you think they want to hear, we've done something most people don't expect from politicians. We have worked every single day to keep our word. From reforming welfare to forcing Congress to live under the same laws as the rest of America, to making health insurance more available and more affordable, to shrinking the size of the Washington bureaucracy, we told you what we were going to do, and then we did it. And we did it all with one simple principle in mind: restoring the American dream for our children. You know, if you're like me, you grew up with parents who worked hard. My dad carried mail on his back for 29 years. My mother would rather walk than take a bus just to save 50 cents. My parents educated 3 kids without a dime of student loans so their kids would have more than they had. I'm proud to serve in a Congress where our goal has been to make America better, with our children's future as our guiding star. As we approach the 21st century, we must all be part of an effort to guarantee the promise of a brighter future for all of those who will follow us. And ladies and gentlemen, that is America's greatest legacy, that our children are left with more than our parents left to us. A big part of that promise has been our dedication and work to balance the budget. You may think that budgets are about green eye shades and numbers, but it's far more important than that. You see, budgets are about ideas. Budgets are about values, and most important, they are about people. Senator Phil Gramm of Texas said it well.
The debate is not about how much money is going to be spent on our children. The debate is not about how much money is going to be spent on housing and nutrition and education. The debate is about who is going to do that spending. Bill Clinton and the Democrats want the government to do the spending. We want the family to do the spending.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know, and I want the American people to know, that our budget efforts in Congress have not been about cutting and slashing. They've been about sending your power and your money back to you in every city and town across America, because we trust you. We put our faith and our trust in people in the neighborhoods and people in the communities, and we've put our faith in the American family. And I'll tell you why. Because we know that you, America, can better develop solutions to local problems at less cost than Washington bureaucrats. And I want to say something to all of you and to the people that are listening. You see, ladies and gentlemen, we can reclaim our neighborhoods, we can reclaim our communities, and we can rebuild our families and ensure that our children's future will be protected. Victory for common sense when Congress passed the welfare reform bill last month. We've all known for years that Washington hasn't gotten it right. We can only make welfare work by running it where we live. Where I come from, we believe that it's wrong not to help those who need help, but we also believe that it's wrong to continue to help people who need to learn how to help themselves. This new welfare plan, it's simple. It's the kids. It's good for the kids. It's good for the kids of welfare recipients. It's good for the kids of welfare recipients because they get to learn about the precious American work ethic. And it's good for the children of those Americans who get up and go to work every day. They are the Americans who pay the bills. I'll tell you another thing. We don't believe that parents need Washington bureaucrats to fly into their town to tell them whether their kids are learning in school. We don't need that. We know that quality education comes about when moms and dads work with teachers in the local schoolhouse to achieve excellence. And let me just say, education gives every kid, every one of you the chance, to become president of the local bank, or maybe this young lady will become president of the United States. As Bob Dole has suggested, teachers in schools should compete for the privilege of educating our children. And our kids will be the winners of that competition. And folks, what's a better way to empower people, to give people control back, than to cut their taxes and let them keep more of what they earn, as Bob Dole has proposed? When my mother went to work, our family moved forward. You know, so much so that we could even afford to buy a car with an automatic transmission. Now mothers and fathers both work just to keep from falling behind. We need to cut Americans' taxes to reward them for hard work, No longer should the average American family pay more to the tax man than for food, clothing, and shelter combined. We got to change it. You know, I'll tell you what I was taught. America is about the rewards of walking the extra mile, the rewards of reaching for the stars for everybody in America. And our program's about one more thing also. It's about reestablishing a strong spiritual base in our country, reattaching our souls to one another, and sending a clear message to God that He is invited back into American life. We cannot be prepared for the new century without returning to the fundamental values on which this country was founded. And as we look to the year 2000, we can't help but be excited about the challenges before us. You see, we know deep in our souls that our program of returning power and money and influence to Americans will help us meet those challenges. And we know we can restore basic American values and good old-fashioned common sense. We've done much already, but as the Beatles sang a quarter century ago, it's a long and winding road as we reconnect with America. But with President Bob Dole leading our party, a party built on trusting the American people, we can build a more prosperous, a more peaceful, a more beautiful America, not just for our generation or our children's generation, but for the next century and beyond. Thank you, and God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen and fellow delegates, please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, the great Congresswoman from New York, Susan Molinari.
Congressional district in New York, the home state of the next Vice President, Jack Kemp. You know, as a matter of fact, last night I called Jack for some advice on what I should say tonight, and he gave me a few suggestions. In fact, he's still giving them to me. I had to put him on hold so I could come out here and give this speech right now. But I'll get right back to you, Jack. I was so honored when Bob Dole asked me to give tonight's keynote speech. And I have some really good news for you. This speech is a lot like a Bill Clinton promise. It won't last long, and it'll sound like a Republican talking. But I think this is one of the greatest conventions of all time. Colin Powell and Nancy Reagan made me so proud last night to be a Republican and really proud to be an American. I know all of us were so moved by General Powell and Mrs. Reagan because both of them spoke to us from the heart, each of them in their own way. Tonight, I hope to do no less. Tonight, I too want to talk to you about the American dream because it seems to be slipping out of reach for too many of us. And I want to tell America how Bob Dole and Jack Kemp and the Republican Party can make that dream easier to achieve again. You know, for the Molinari family, our story began in 1904 when Gaetano and Marie Molinari bundled up their young son and left Italy in search of a dream. And they found it on 104th Street in Queens. That's where my great-grandfather opened up his barbershop. And I'd like to think that the red, white, and blue pole spinning outside his storefront symbolized his American dream. He passed on his passion for hard work, his faith in his family, and his love of this adopted country to his small son, who passed it on to my father, who passed it on to me. And along the way, the American dream got a little bit bigger. And in just 2 generations, a seat in a Queens barbershop led to a seat in the United States Congress. But the truth is, Gaetano Molinari lived a simple dream, and it was the same dream shared by a generation. Find a job, marry your sweetheart, have children, buy a home, and maybe start a business. And in the process, always provide a better life for your children. When my husband Bill and I had Susan Ruby 3 months ago, we really began to understand these dreams. You know, you begin to think a little bit less about how the world is, and a lot more about the kind of world you're going to leave behind. But for many people my age, our dreams and our hopes, which are no different than those of our parents, but are becoming more difficult. Those dreams are becoming more difficult because today they're under real pressures, and they're worried. They worry about their jobs and whether they'll still have them tomorrow. They wonder whether they can provide security for their parents as they grow old, an opportunity for their children as they grow up. They worry about drugs and violence, and every morning they hesitate at the kindergarten door, if only just for a moment, to let go of that small hand clinging so very tightly onto theirs. I don't know a mom today who isn't being stretched to her limit, trying to hold down a job while trying to hold down the fort too. And how many times have we said to ourselves, there just aren't enough hours in the day? And the truth is, there aren't. Well, Republicans can't promise you any more hours in a day, but we can help you spend more hours at home with your family. We know people are having trouble just staying afloat, and it's easy to see why. Bill Clinton passed the largest tax increase in history, and now Americans pay almost 40 cents of every dollar they earn in taxes. The most ever. Every year Bill Clinton has been in office, taxes have been higher and family incomes have been lower. Bob Dole and Jack Kemp have a better idea, an economic plan for every American who is working harder and taking home less. The Dole-Kemp plan will give every man and woman in this country a 15% across-the-board tax cut. It is good news. It's good news because it's a plan for all of us. It's a plan for the single mother with 2 kids in Detroit who's trying to pay her bills and pay for child care too. she'll get $1,000 from the Republicans' child tax credit. And it's a plan for a grandmother in St. Louis who was hit hard by Bill Clinton's tax increases on Social Security benefits. She's going to get to keep all the benefits she's earned and deserves. And it's a plan for a young couple in Pittsburgh trying desperately to buy their first home. For them, it's going to mean lower interest rates and mortgage payments that they can afford. We can do better with Bob Dole and Jack Kemp. And that's what this convention and this election is all about. Clearly, the American people understand we simply can't go on like we have for the last 4 years. Something has got to give, or people are just going to give up. We say we can create real opportunity for everyone with a dream. We can do better. Now, under Bill Clinton, Medicare will be bankrupt in less than 5 years. But this president would rather play politics than muster the political courage to rescue it. Republicans will save Medicare and protect Social Security so people can stop worrying about their parents' and their grandparents' health and security. We must do better. You know, we are a generous people. We are a generous people. But when a welfare system traps millions of children in poverty and dependency, common sense tells us that we need change for their sake. And I'm proud to say that because of Bob Dole and the Common Sense Republican Congress, we finally ended welfare as we know it. We all know we've got to stop the explosion in drug use by our kids that we've seen over the last 3 years. We must elect a president this fall with a zero tolerance for drugs in our schools, our playgrounds, and in our workplaces. This is a fight we cannot lose. We can do better. We can do better. We can elect Bob Dole. First term in Congress. He had contacted me near immediately and asked me to work with him to stem the growing trend of crimes towards women and children. We worked closely together to produce legislation that gave women and children strong new protections against sexual predators by closing loopholes that let rapists and child molesters go free. It seems very important. But it seems that we've always counted on Bob Dole to do what's right for all Americans, and he has never let us down. Now, think about Bill Clinton. He promises one thing and does another. He hopes we'll forget his broken promises. But I ask you, have you forgotten that Bill Clinton promised a middle-class tax cut, then passed the largest tax increase in American history? I didn't think so. Have you forgotten that Bill Clinton promised common-sense health care reform, only to impose a huge Washington-run bureaucracy health care system on all of us? And have you forgotten that that Bill Clinton promised to balance the budget, first in 5 years, then 10, then 7, then 9, then went on to veto the first balanced budget in 25 years? Americans know that Bill Clinton's promises have the lifespan of a Big Mac on Air Force One. Funny. What's not funny is what Bill Clinton is doing to the promise of America. 200 years ago, it was that promise of freedom that inspired the first generation of Americans to found a nation. 100 years ago, another generation bound up the wounds of the Civil War and opened the West. 30 years ago, this generation dreamed of the stars and set our foot upon the moon. And like those Americans who came before us, we have that same opportunity for greatness. Our dreams can be just as big. This November, we will elect the last president of this century and the first of a new millennium. We can change the direction of our country. It will be a new day for America, an age of dreams as big and as bold as any that have come before. And we, every one of us here and every American, we can be the new patriots and the pioneers, the dreamers and the doers. We can restore the American dream. At the end of the day, when I'm rocking my daughter, Susan Ruby, to sleep, I look down and I wonder what her life's going to be like. And I want the best for her. I want a country that's free from danger. A nation and a world where she's free to believe in greatness and achieve her fullest potential. But she'll never know that life if we continue down the rudderless path we've been on for 4 long years. We have a choice. We can change the future for our children. The unique American spirit that defied a king and challenged a continent and conquered space still beats in the heart of every one of us. But we must have a leader that shares our dreams. So tonight, I leave you with one last wish that I have for my child and for all of our children. I want my daughter's earliest memories of our nation's leader to be of a man who still dreams despite adversity. A man who dreams of peace because he's known the horrors of war. A man who dreams big because he knows what it's like to begin life with so little. A man who asks the best from each of us because he's never given America anything less of himself. I want my daughter to have a future that still loves heroes, where character still matters, and America's leaders can inspire us and comfort us with the courage of their vision. There's nothing sadder than to look into the eyes of a child without dreams and see nothing but the empty stare of lost hope. Well, that's not my America, and that's not Bob Dole's America either. On the day that my great-grandfather first opened the door to his small barbershop decades ago, his dreams made my dreams possible. Each generation, by its actions, must open the door for the next. We must leave behind a legacy of hope and opportunity. So this November, let us look deep into the eyes of our children and listen hard to that still small voice that lies within each of us. For we must elect a president, not just for this generation, but for generations to come. We must choose the better man for a better America, and that man we know is Bob Dole. Thank you.
Everyone now to please stand for the benediction. It will be offered by Rabbi Daniel Lapin of Mercer Island, Washington. Dr. Lapin is president of Torah Tradition, an organization of Jewish conservatives. Dr. Lapin?
A long time ago, the Israelites crossed an ocean to arrive in a wild and untamed land. They brought nothing but one crucial idea that created a culture and forged a nation. That crucial idea, what we think of God, is less important than what God thinks of us. And his thoughts about us can be found in the Bible. Three millennia later, clutching their Bibles, our forefathers crossed another ocean to arrive on the shores of this land. They too brought nothing but an idea. Later, our founding fathers, and they became my founding fathers too when they adopted me on the proudest day of my life, the day on which I became an American citizen. They enshrined this idea in the title deed of American civilization, our Constitution. Today, two mighty rivers flow through our culture. One hurtles us toward an uncertain future, dividing us into two groups that value things over ideas. The second can bear us toward a time when once again transcendent ideas will forge one nation. This river teaches that not things but ideas produce tranquility and prosperity. Tonight, my friends, we are buoyantly afloat on this river. Our party has always stood for ideas, and those who lead us have always recognized that our strength lies in true ideas burning unquenchably in our hearts. May God bless our efforts, and may His ideas inspire us so that we may soon restore America's tranquility and prosperity. This will come to pass after we triumph this November. God bless and good night.
The chair recognizes the delegate from Maryland for the purposes of offering a motion.
Madam Chairman, Joyce Lyons Harris of the proud state of Maryland moves that the convention adjourn until 5 p.m. Wednesday, August 14th, 1996.
Thank you. The question on the motion offered by the delegate from Maryland. Is there any objection? Without objection, the convention adjourns until 5 p.m. August the 14th, 1996.
Joe Another hour and 45 minutes left to go in C-SPAN's continuing coverage of the 1996 Republican National Convention, and we thank you for being with us. We're going to watch the floor for a bit, but during the next 2 hours we'll be hearing reactions from delegates on the floor, from Republican Party officials, from journalists who are covering the convention. You'll also hear a reaction from the chairman of the Democratic Party about this convention so far, but most importantly, we'd like to hear from you.